Okay, the last and final lesson for this unit is lesson 8, and it's on graphing inequalities and solving inequalities. So if you remember from last year, we are going to use an open circle for the greater than and less, or the less than and greater than signs, and then we're going to use a closed circle or a closed dot when it has the equal sign underneath it. So that means it's included in there. So we're going to review this from last year. We're going to graph these inequalities. So if you have the X on the left side, you can always follow the arrow if you have a hard time reading these. This is X is less than 3. So we find the 3, open circle, and it goes that way. X is greater than -1. So find -1, open circle, that way. Sometimes they try to trick you and put the variable on the other side. So you can either flip it around or just know you go the opposite. Okay, X is greater than or equal to 7. So it includes it and goes that way. X is less than or equal to -5. And we got to color that one in. I forgot. Okay. So, and then you might have to write the inequality. And so let's always put the variable on the left side. So for this one, it would be X is greater than or equal to 4. So you go ahead and do those and pause the camera and see what you get. Okay, so check your answers there. Should be pretty easy. Now, if you remember when we solve inequalities, we have to flip the inequality symbol when we multiply or divide. Whoops, that's a division sign. Cross that out. By a negative number. And you can write all those words in if you want. Put a star here. That's the most important thing that people forget. So when we go to solve these, we solve them just like we do equations. And this is where it gets really important to leave the X on the side that it's on. So that's why I always make you do it with an equal sign. So on this one, we're going to -2. And so we have -6 here. And then we're going to divide by 3. And so we get -2. Now we're not flipping that sign because we did not divide by a negative. And then when you go to make your number line, I always just use a 0 to kind of make sure I know I'm going the right way. My fingers are kind of too big for this, and it goes that way. Okay, you do number 10. And then why don't you, let's see here. Looks like it skips 11 and 12. That's weird. Okay. Okay, and that's what -10 should look like. X is greater than -18. So on to the back, we have, no, I am missing, oh, here it is. I was looking on the wrong page. Okay, on the back, number 11. Here would be an example where we'd have to switch sign. So we have -7x is greater than or equal to -7 because we -8. And now we're going to divide by -7. So we have X is 1, and we have to flip this sign because we divided by a negative. And then you find the 1, color it in, and go that way. So you go ahead and do the rest of these and then check your answers. Okay, and so far I have these done for you. Number 12 is going that way. You had to flip it because you times by -8. 13, you had to flip it. You divided by -2. And on this one, I wanted to make sure that you -3 first, brought down that negative, and then you had to flip it. Okay, go ahead and pause it again if you aren't done. Okay, so if you go back to look at these on 15 and 16, make sure that you are, after you -5 here on 15, that you're timesing by 4/3. Timesing by the reciprocal. On 18, you would -6, and then you would have a negative x is less than or equal to 8. Then, remember when we just dividing by a negative 1 is getting rid of that. And so since we're dividing by a negative 1, it changes the sign on everything. And so then we have to remember to flip this sign because you're dividing by a negative. Okay, and on 20, you should have times by a negative 2. And so you would have had that to start with, I think. Yeah. And then you would have, oh gosh, I wrote that wrong. There we go. Okay, so that is it for that lesson.